College Football 26 just got its second update since the game's release less than a week ago on July 10th, targeting a lot of key issues in the game, especially when it comes to the game's most popular mode in Dynasty. So if you guys want to see what was patched in the latest title update, stick around after the intro. If you guys need fast, cheap, reliable coins for your ultimate team, check out my coin sponsors at MMOXP.com and use discount code MONEYSHOT for 6% off your order. Link in the description below. The champ is here! Welcome back, Money Team. This is Mad Money Shot. Sending out the college cheese as always. We got our second update already, and this one here is specifically geared towards Dynasty mode. I'm going to get into all that as always, but if you guys want to continue to do these update videos, because to be honest with you, these aren't like the typical updates where they're on EA's website or they release patch notes and stuff like that, which I guess they typically save maybe for larger title updates. These are just quicker forum patch notes that they're putting out via their EA Blitz account, I'm assuming, considering that it has the EA logo and it looks like an official thing. And this is basically how they've been communicating the first two updates. So if you guys want me to continue to report on these, because they're a little bit harder to find, please make sure to be a subscriber, hit the like button, let me know in the comment section. Other than that, let's get right into the video. Now, we did get some communication yesterday from the CFB Direct Twitter account where they essentially said that there's going to be server maintenance on Thursday, July 17th at 6 a.m. It's the same one they always put out. It's just basically so that if you're online during that time that you won't get disconnected and maybe get a loss or wonder what's going on. I mean, it's a communication that they put out just to let people know that there will be potential for disruption if you're online during the time that they're working on this. So this specific update is really geared towards Dynasty, as the last update was really more about gameplay, and I did put out a video about that as well. So if you guys want to check that out, I will have links on screen at the end of the video, as what's popping up in the top right hand corner right now. But this one here says, hey, College Football 26 Dynasty fans, our teams are having a great time reading the stories and moments you're sharing when playing Dynasty. It says we'll have more updates on the way, but today Dynasty has received several updates following our server maintenance earlier today, which I mentioned. It says please note that these changes will take effect for online Dynasty files only, and yes, these will work in already created Dynasty files. We will have a future title update to bring these updates to offline Dynasty files. Just sit tight. I'm not really sure why I can only have these will only take effect. I mean, it is nice to hear that they're taking effect in already created files, because there was issues last year that they couldn't fix, and you basically had to restart. So it's nice to see that. But I don't understand why it's only specifically geared towards online at the moment, even though I would assume there's probably more offline dynasties, which is probably why. But like I said, it says sit tight. They're going to be working on that in a future title update, and they've been coming out pretty quick. This is the second one in 7 days, so they're clearly working very hard to get these issues resolved, which I think is somewhat commendable. Let's go ahead and let's get to these issues. They should sound familiar if you're playing this game. Number one is skill caps and position changes update. It says you can now change a player's position within their current position group without penalty to their skill caps. You'll be free to swap positions within these groups. Now, they give you a list of them here, but I just want to first say that is like the first. Wasn't that like one of the things that they put into the game with the Deep Dive Dynasty, that they were showing off as being a thing where to try to keep people from basically using exploits by changing positions? And within a week, they're already like, all right, we took that off. So here's the ones that they said they changed: running back and fullback. That makes sense. Although I think that if you put a running back at a fullback, that's not one that I necessarily, I mean, for skill cap reasons, I guess that's not too bad, but you can clearly put an overpowered running back at fullback. That could be open to exploits. That one I'm a little bit out on. But offensive line, left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle. Yeah, that should be somewhat interchangeable. I use this example in the breakdown video that I reflected on their deep dive. I said about, and I went back and forth with people in the comment section. I said that like the Eagles, the way that we do our offensive lines, we cross train our guys in pretty much every position. In the championship game this last year, we had our guard playing center and then our center playing guard. You know what I mean? It's like they were swapping in and out due to injury, and it's like if you go back to their college careers, a lot of guys, especially in college, played multiple positions by the time they go to the pros. They might have played, like guys like Landon Dickerson play like all 5 spots on the line. And I can't imagine that he's going to be that much worse at center compared to tackle or guard. So this was one that, like, right from the jump, I was like, that don't make any sense to have a penalty if you're moving those guys around, because that's one of the positions where people will plug and play and move around more than any other position. So I'm glad they fixed that. But when you go to defensive line, defensive tackle to edge, that's kind of in the same vein, depending on what type of scheme you run. If you run a 3-4 or 4-3, because 4-3 defensive tackles are 3-4 defensive ends a lot of times, so that didn't make a lot of sense. The linebackers, Sam, Will, and Mike, that didn't make a lot of sense. I mean, a lot of times just off coverage, off ball linebackers are off ball linebackers. Now, defensive back and safety, once again, a little bit different. This is something where, you know, obviously a cornerback, safeties aren't typically as fast as cornerbacks. So to move, you know, you can get a really fast cornerback and move him to safety, and that can be kind of OP. And a lot of times cornerbacks are also smaller in stature. I mean, that one I'm not kind of out on. And then kicker and punter, which is cool, because once again, that makes sense. But 3 of these I agree with, or 4 of these I agree with if you include kicker and punter and specialist. But defensive back and running back, I think you can get a little bit exploit territory with that. So that's something that I think, you know, that one I don't 100% necessarily agree with. But all these other positions make sense because to me, they're somewhat interchangeable depending on your scheme. Now, it also says here that athlete recruits can now set your initial positions without impact to their skill group caps as well, which is something that was obviously needed. What's the point of recruiting an athlete if you're going to have that issue in the first place? And then it says a player's new skill caps are more strongly influenced by their developmental trait and school year. It says younger players and those with higher development traits will have higher skill caps at their new position. So that makes sense too. If a guy's, you know, hasn't been in school as long, obviously he's got longer to grow in that position, so it shouldn't affect it as much as, you know, somebody who's been further along in the process, like a senior or something like that. Now, those are the 3 main bullet points, but they also have some additional updates that they reference here, as there's probably more ones I wouldn't even know about that they didn't even mention, but they're considering this additional, which to me is actually just as critical as some of the ones above. But it says, address a coach point exploit when retiring and then creating a new character. Now, I don't actually play an online dynasty at the moment, so I'm not too familiar with this one, but that's obviously something if you're playing with other users that could be an issue. And then the last one here gives you a little bit of insight without really saying it as to what is the best coaching tier to use, because they basically said reduces the impact of the reach your potential ability motivator tier 1 in parentheses for better coach ability and recruiting balance. So basically, motivator tier 1, since that's the one that they're targeting, might be a little bit OP, and they're kind of tipping their hand there with that. So if you're not in a dynasty, or if you haven't started your dynasty offline or whatever, it might be best to use that particular tier because they're talking about how they basically are reducing it. Then it says, note, this affects the influence given to recruits when a player at their position hits a skill group cap. So basically, it sounds like they're trying to nerf that a little bit, which is interesting because, like I said, I didn't actually pick that, and now I'm thinking that I should have. Maybe I'll restart as a motivator in a different offline dynasty. But let me know what you guys think. What do you guys think they still need to fix, especially when it comes to dynasty mode? Because these are all good fixes. Things that I definitely heard a lot about, especially in my comments section, because you guys let me know about a lot of issues that are happening in modes I don't necessarily play as much. So I really appreciate that, as it does affect how I make these videos. So let me know in the comment section, let everybody know in the comment section what issues you're having, as it helps me to spread the word when you guys tell me these things in these videos, as I'm sure EA keeps an eye on them to watch how the community reacts to the updates that they're putting out. So like I said, let me know in the comment section, let everybody know in the comment section. Other than that, if you guys want to see more videos about the previous updates to the gameplay that only came out like 2 days ago, that pop up on my screen, as well as other tip videos that I made about college football 26. So just click links, and until next time, thanks for watching, man. My shit out. Need more help or just want to show your support? Then head over to my Patreon and join my team, where you can get exclusive content like ebooks and bonus plays, as well as early access to my vids and more. Link in the description below.